Dr. Douglas. Yeah.
Welcome back. All right, here we go. Episode 4, where we begin to discuss the map, a unified cosmological architecture. The foundation layer, the core problem all these traditions are trying to solve. Every tradition we have discussed, Kabbalistic, Hermetic, Egyptian, Sumerian, Enochian, Gnostic, and modern contact phenomena, it's all attempting to answer the same cluster of questions. Why does a cosmos apparently created by a good, intelligent source contain so much suffering and corruption? What are the entities that interact with humanity, and what do they want? How does information legitimately cross the boundary between different levels of reality? And what is the human being's role in this structure? How does a human being fully activate that role? Well, the fact that traditions separated by millennia and thousands of miles converge on similar structural answers. This is either one of the most important patterns in human intellectual history or the most durable shared psychological projection ever produced. The map we're going to build here takes the first possibility seriously without requiring certainty about the second. Level 1. The emanation structure. Hermetic cosmology describes the universe as organized into 7 planetary spheres and 3 fundamental planes of existence: physical, mental, spiritual. The structure operates on the principle of emanation. The divine source gives rise to progressively denser levels of reality, and the soul ascends back through the same levels toward union with the divine. The crucial teaching of the Kabbalion on the planes is expressed through the law of correspondence. As above, so below; as below, so above; as within, so without. This is the foundational principle of the entire map. Reality is not flat, it's layered, with each layer being a translation of divine energy into progressively denser form. The layers are not spatially separated like floors in a building, they interpenetrate. Higher planes exist within and through lower ones. The convergence across traditions. So we got layer, which we're going to call the absolute source. In the Hermetic tradition, it's the all or the monad. In Kabbalion, it's called the Ein Sof. The Egyptian, it's the Nun, the primordial waters. And Enochian, it's the Ancient of Days. First, that sounds like an Enya CD title. Don't get me wrong, I love Enya, big fan, sail away all day. First expression, the layer of first expression in the Hermetic tradition is the divine nous. In Kabbalic tradition, it's Keter or crown. In Egyptian, it's Atum creating himself, and in Enochian, it's the divine throne. The archangelic or cosmic layer, we've got 7 planetary spheres. In Kabbalah, it's Sephiroth 2 through 4. In Egyptian, it's the Netjeru or Netjeru, and Netjeru, the gods, and the 7 holy angels in the Enochian terminology. Next layer, human adjacent, which is the astral or mental planes, Sephiroth 7 through 9 in Kabbalah, the Duat, the underworld or dream realm in Egyptian, and the realm of the Watchers in Enochian. That's interesting because, a lot of people, when they are experiencing contact and abduction, it seems to happen, again, at night during dreamy sleepy time. Rarely ever does it happen during daylight. Material world, which is the final form of this layer. The physical plane, Malkuth, kingdom in Kabbalah, the earth or Ta in Egypt, and the material realm here in Enochian. Every tradition says the same thing. The source is one. God is all. Every tradition says the same thing. The source is one, its expression is multiple, and reality is the structured unfolding of the single source through increasingly concrete levels of manifestation. Level 2. The 7 operating principles, Hermeticism as grammar. Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure who combines the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes, is the pillar of Hermetic philosophy. The 7 Hermetic principles are not a belief system, they are a descriptive grammar for how this multi-level reality actually operates. I wrote a nice little novel that readdresses and explains through story these 7 principles. 1. Mentalism, The book is called Trago and the Seven Doors, which, you check it out. It's on my website. 1. Mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Consciousness is not produced by matter. Matter is produced by consciousness. This means entities at higher levels of the structure, which are closer to pure consciousness, have structural advantages over beings more densely embedded in matter. Us. It also means that human consciousness, if sufficiently developed, has access to the same operative levels. Disembodied, discarnate plasma beings. 2. Correspondence. As above, so below. The laws and phenomena of one plane apply to all. This is the operative principle behind both legitimate sigil work. The sigil corresponds to the angelic principle it encodes, and the illegitimate entity contact. The ritual creates a correspondence between the material configuration and the entity's level. The same principle runs both legitimate and exploitative operations. 3. Vibration. Everything moves, everything vibrates. From corpuscle and electron, atom and molecule, to the worlds and universes, everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force and on the mental planes. An understanding of this principle enables students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. This is the mechanism behind music as both summoning and protection. Different frequencies correspond to different levels of the structure. Sound is not metaphorically related to cosmic order. It is literally a vibratory expression of it. Sing. 4. Polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. This is the Hathor-Sekhmet structure. They're not opposites. They are the same force at different degrees of the same line with two poles. The principle explains why every tradition's dark and light forces are working the same mechanism from different positions, not operating in separate domains. 5. Rhythm. Everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. The entities in this map have operated cyclically throughout human history. The Watcher descent, the flood, the reemergence through Egyptian, Sumerian, and later traditions, the Frankist revival, the Puharich channelings, the modern abduction phenomenon. These are not separate events, but expressions of the same rhythm. Tide goes out, it comes on back. It's also just, life. 6. Cause and effect. No action in this system is without consequence. This is why the traditions unanimously warn against exploiting the interface mechanism. The entities that use humans as apparatus are not acting without a cost. The extraction described by Monroe as louche is an interference with a natural process that has structural downstream consequences for the entities themselves. That's an interesting take. They're not free actors. They're bound by the same causal structure they exploit. They have perhaps become dependent on the situation that they thought to take advantage of. 7. Gender. Gender isn't everything. The masculine-feminine polarity is not biological. It's a cosmic structural principle. The masculine principle is directive, protective, initiating. The feminine principle is receptive, formative, gestating. The Watcher entity exploitation specifically targets the feminine receptive principle in human bodies and human consciousness, in the institutional structures of religion and culture. The legitimate path specifically cultivates the proper integration of both principles within the individual human being. Level 3. The Kabbalistic map. The most precise structural diagram. It goes into detail. Certainly worth looking at. The Tree of Life is the most detailed existing map of the territory we're exploring. The Kabbalistic Tree of Life outlines the divine architecture of creation, a map of order, harmony, and spiritual ascent. The Sephiroth as their governors. Reading from the top to bottom of the Tree of Life, we'll show it here. Keter, crown, Metatron, the first point where the infinite becomes finite. The being who governs the Sephirah was once human. Enoch. This is not coincidental. The highest point of the divine material interface is governed by a being who crossed from the human side. This is structurally the most important fact in the entire Kabbalistic system for our purposes. Sure. Chokmah or Chokmah, I say Chokmah, Chokmah, wisdom. Raziel, the first flash of divine creative intelligence. The Book of Raziel is the source of all transmitted occult knowledge. And I'm pretty sure Raziel is also... He came up in, I don't know if it was real or not, but apparently someone found the name Raziel in the recent release of the UFO files from the government. Also, he means something. Yeah, he's the angel of secrets and the keeper of all magic, which is pretty wild, if I do say so myself. Okay, so he's the first flash of divine creative intelligence. The Book of Raziel is the source of all transmitted occult knowledge. Binah, understanding, Tzafkiel, Tzaphikiel, the Great Mother, the womb of form, where divine intelligence takes shape. The corresponding Egyptian principle is Nut, the sky goddess, the body that contains and gives birth to the solar principle. Chesed, or Chesed, Chesed, mercy, and Tzadkiel is the angel associated with it. Loving, expansive, giving, the Jupiter principle. Big love, big hugs, let's party. Big success. Geburah, or Geburah, Gevurah, which is strength or severity. Kamael, Khamal, is the angel. Limiting, judging, cutting, Mars principle. Here we see the first appearance of the binding function. Geburah is the sephira of divine severity, which is the principle through which demonic excess is curtailed. Raphael binding Azazel is an expression of Geburah, operating through a Tiphereth-level archangel. Tiphereth, next, beauty and heart. Raphael and Michael, they seem to be interchangeable, the traditions vary. The center of the tree. The solar principle, the mediating, balancing, healing center. Hathor's domain as the golden one, and solar principle, which maps here precisely. The heart is the organ of both love and discernment. Tiphereth is simultaneously the seat of compassion and the seat of the Christ Messiah principle. Netzach, victory, Netzach. Hanael is the angel here. Desire, creativity, the arts, beauty, the Venus principle. This is the specific sephira the Watchers violated. Their desire for human women is a Netzach-level impulse, the level of raw desire and creative force that they acted on without the tempering of higher sephiroth above it. Asmodeus specifically operates through Netzach. His entire domain is desire weaponized against relationship. Hod, splendor. Michael, Raphael, interchange here. Intellect, communication, precision. Mercury principle, communication. The sigils we discussed are constructed through the Mercury Kamea, Raphael. Hod is the sephira through which angelic transmission to humans is formalized. Yesod, foundation. Gabriel, the astral plane, the unconscious, dreams, the moon principle. This is the specific plane on which channeling and entity contact most commonly occur. The liminal dream-adjacent level, where the boundary between material and subtle reality is thinnest. The nine made contact through altered states, hypnosis, and mediumistic trance, all Yesod operations. Malkuth, kingdom. Sandalphon, awesome name. The material world, the earth. The Shekinah in exile is Malkuth here. Hathor in her aspect as the Lady of the West, receiving the dead, governing the material threshold. Now we get into the shadow side, the dark reflection of the tree of life, the clip-off, the shadow tree. Qliphoth, clip-off. Cliff-off, I'll get it. Cliff-off, yeah. The cliff-off are the spiritual residues left behind during the emanation of light, the chaotic fragments that were unable to contain the brilliance of the infinite. While the Sephiroth reflect harmony, divine will, and ordered creation, the cliff-off reflect imbalance, excess, fragmentation, and spiritual distortion. They're the part of the cosmic drama of creation, necessary counterparts, not accidents. Without them, there would be no free will, no contrast by which righteousness or understanding could emerge. Each Qlipha is a shadow inversion of the corresponding Sephirah. Thaumael, division, mirrors Keter, unity. The Qliphoth are not a separate creation. They are what happens when the divine principles operate without their proper relationship to the source. Each fallen entity in our map can be located on the Qliphothic tree as the distorted shadow of a legitimate Sephirotic principle. So if you got the Sephirah Keter, you got divine unity. The Qlipha is Thaumael, twin gods in division, and the distortion is the claim to be God or godlike while divided from source. The entity expressing it, we got the 9 claiming we are together God. Chokmah, wisdom, is our Sephirah. Then you got the Qlipha Gagiel, the hinderers, Ghagiel. Wisdom weaponized as confusion, described as giants entwined with serpents. The watchers teaching knowledge prematurely, or just dropping false knowledge. Binah, form, understanding. And the Qliphothic angel, Sathariel, concealment of God, the hiding of the divine face. Matter taken as the only reality. The Gnostic demiurge, ignorance as governance. Netzach, you got desire for creative force. For the Qliphoth, you have Arab Zarak, A''Arab Zaraq, ravens of dispersion. Desire without direction, scattering creative force. Asmodeus, all entities operating through unbounded eros. Yesod, foundation, astral. For the Qliphoth, you've got Gamaliel, the obscene ones. What a name. The astral plane misused for parasitic contact. Channeling entities, sleep paralysis visitors, the man in the hat. Malkuth, kingdom, earth. And then you got Lilith, Nahemoth. The feminine principle in unbalanced form, desire without relationship. Lilith rules the lowest Qlipha, the queen of demons, consort of Samael. She symbolizes the feminine principle in its unbalanced form, desire without relationship, power without responsibility. Sensuality without the soul. This is the Kabbalistic answer to where the entities live. They're not in a separate hell. They're operating through the inverted resonance of principles that are legitimate in their proper form. Every entity contact tradition describes beings that are distorted mirrors of divine realities. Level 4, the Vallée synthesis. What the modern contact phenomenon reveals. Vallée began exploring the commonalities between UFOs, cults, religious movements, demons, angels, ghosts, cryptid sightings, and psychic phenomena, suggesting a multidimensional visitation hypothesis. That the entities could be potentially from anywhere, multidimensional, rather than extraterrestrial. Vallée writes, however strong the current belief in saucers from space, it cannot be stronger than the Celtic faith in the elves and their fairies, or the medieval belief in lutins, or the fear throughout the Christian lands in the first centuries of our era of demons and satyrs and fauns. Certainly, it cannot be stronger than the faith that inspired the writers of the Bible, a faith rooted in daily experiences with angelic visitation. Was it really daily? Oh, there goes another one. Vallée presents the idea that there is no true difference between the phenomena of angels and demons, fairies and elves, jinn and dwarves, and the UFO inhabitants. This is the single most important contribution modern research has made to this particular corner of the map. The entities don't change, their presentation layer changes. Maybe. I think it's a bit wider, but this does make a pretty strong argument. Adapting to the cultural expectations of each era. In the ancient Near East, they presented as divine beings descending from heaven. In medieval Europe, they presented as fairies, incubi, and succubi. In the 20th century, they present as extraterrestrials with superior technology. That sucks because incubi and succubi fairies, they all looked way better. That would have gotten me a lot easier than these grays. I see a gray and I'm like, no, thank you. I'll pass. The same structural features appear across all presentations. They access humans during liminal states, sleep, trance, twilight. They express interest in human reproductive biology. They transmit knowledge, but knowledge that restructures the recipient's relationship to existing social and spiritual order. They claim a more elevated status than they can demonstrably evidence. Trust us, we're doing it for you. Contact destabilizes the individual and the community around them. They lie about their fundamental nature, and that, hey, as Carla Turner said, man, they're not telling the truth no matter what they're telling. Whatever they're saying, it seems like bullshit. The reproductive agenda across all forms. A growing body of scholars based on accumulative physical and eyewitness evidence are coming around to the conclusion that a modern alien program of breeding and hybridizing humans is covertly occurring similar to what the ancient Watchers did. Professor Jacobs combines scientific and investigatory methods to analyze the accounts of dozens of abductees, describing in unsettling detail the reproductive procedures that abductees claim were administered, with his conclusion paralleling that of Vallée and others, that alien abductors are conducting complex reproductive experiments involving the conception, gestation, hybridization, and integration on Earth of alien hybrid beings. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty thick recurring narrative. Jacobs and Hopkins argued that there was an elaborate process underway in which aliens were attempting to create human-alien hybrids, the most advanced stage of which in the human hybridization program are known as hybrids. The Watcher program produced Nephilim. The modern abduction program is reportedly producing hybrids. The operation very well might be identical, if not very close. Presentation layer has changed, the underlying agenda may have not. The disembodied Nephilim spirits were identified as the source of ongoing demonic interference, and they are in this synthesis the same category of entity that now presents as grays and tall whites in modern contact experiences. Well, I guess if the incubi and succubi and fairies look like tall whites, I guess that's a little easier. They're beings of mixed divine human nature seeking re-entry into the material realm through the biological mechanism that produced them in the first place. Vallée's research shows humans have attested related experiences for centuries. Take Celtic fairies, who stories claim abducted humans for reproductive purposes and left magic circles. The fairy changeling myth, this one, a human child replaced with a fairy hybrid, is the pre-modern version of the abduction hybridization narrative. The myth is consistent because the phenomenon is consistent. Level 5. The Anunnaki layer, the oldest substrate. The Sumerian tradition adds the oldest archaeological substrate we have for this entire structure. The Anunnaki, those of royal blood, or those who from heaven to earth came, are the divine administrative hierarchy of Sumerian cosmology who interact with humanity through specific channels. The key structural additions the Sumerian material provides, we got Enki versus Enlil as the foundational polarity. Enki, the god of wisdom, fresh water, crafts, repeatedly gives humanity knowledge against the wishes of Enlil. Here, take this. It'll teach you how to make baskets. Shh, don't tell Enlil. Who was the chief administrative god of the divine council, Enlil. This is the same structure as Prometheus versus Zeus, Azazel versus God, Lucifer versus the divine hierarchy. But in the Sumerian version, it's not framed as rebellion. It's framed as a policy dispute with a legitimate governance structure. Enki is not a rebel, he's an advocate. This complicates the simple fallen equals bad, loyal equals good binary significantly. Yeah, I mean, the way at least Sitchin presented it, and I know there's a lot of questioning as to his veracity, but the way it's presented is Enki's like, hey, these guys down here, they're pretty cool. Let's not wipe them out so fast. The creation of humanity as a specific project. In the Atrahasis epic, humanity, Lulu, is created by combining the flesh and blood of a slain divine being, Geshtu-e, with clay to produce a being capable of bearing the labor burden of the lesser Anunnaki. They didn't want to do the work no more. I don't blame them. This is not a metaphor for gradual evolution. It's a specific genetic intervention narrative. The Sumerian account is the oldest documented version of the claim that humanity was deliberately created or modified by entities of a higher order for their own purposes. Whether this is a literal history, encoded myth, or both, It establishes the framework within which the Watcher tradition, the abduction hybridization narrative, and the Nine's seeding claims to all operate. The Igigi rebellion as the Watcher parallel. In Sumerian mythology, the Igigi, the lesser divine beings who bear labor on behalf of the Anunnaki, eventually rebel against their work conditions. It sucks down here for them. The resolution of the rebellion is the creation of humanity to take over their labor. This structural pattern, a lower tier of divine beings chafing against their assigned role, resulting in a transgressive interaction with humanity, is the Sumerian version of the Watcher's story, told from the perspective of divine administration rather than human theology. Level 6. The human being as microcosm, the central thesis. Here's where this map that we're making becomes most important at the moment and most rarely stated clearly. The soul ascends back through the same levels toward reunion with the divine, where Hermetic cosmology describes 3 planes. Rudolf Steiner describes 7 interpenetrating bodies of the human being corresponding to different levels of cosmic reality. The underlying principle is the same. Reality is multi-layered, each layer being an expression of divine intelligence at a different density, and the human being is a microcosm that mirrors the entire cosmic structure. The human being does not exist in the cosmic structure. The human being is the cosmic structure in miniature. Every level of the hierarchy, from the densest material to the most rarefied spiritual, is presented within the human being simultaneously. This is the Hermetic as within, so without. The tree of life is not a diagram of the external cosmos. It's a diagram of the human being's own internal structure projected onto the cosmos. This changes everything about the entity contact problem. It is a problem. Why entities want access to humans? A human being is not merely a physical body that generates useful biological or biochemical substances, loosh or reproductive material. A human being is a complete microcosm, a self-contained replica of the entire cosmic architecture. To gain access to a human being is to gain access, in principle, to every level of reality simultaneously. This is why the entities in question are not satisfied with remote influence. They want occupation of human bodies and consciousness. A fully inhabited human body is, from their perspective, a vehicle capable of accessing the entire spectrum of reality that they, as fallen, displaced beings, can no longer access through their own nature. Interesting. You look at what they're telling us. Oh, we screwed up our genetics, so we need some of yours to make us whole again. Is almost like a half-truth in this framework. Why the human ascension path threatens them. A human who has activated all levels of their own internal architecture, who's developed physical integrity, emotional clarity, mental acuity, and genuine spiritual connection, is not merely protected from entity influence. They become, like Metatron, a full operational microcosm that no entity at a lower level of integration can interface with on exploitative terms. You cannot parasitize something that is more complete than you are. The Enoch Metatron proof. Enoch crossed the ontological boundary from human to divine by activating every level of the human microcosm in proper relationship to the divine source. He was taken up. His transformation into Metatron, the lesser Yahweh, the highest archangel, is not a supernatural expectation. It is the proof of concept that the human being's full activation constitutes a genuine ontological transformation. The entities that sought to use humans as apparatus are, in the end, less than a fully activated human. This is why Enoch, not an archangel, was the one the Watchers asked to intercede for them. They recognize it. So if we look at this presentation layer by era, you got 3000 to 300 BCE, you got divine beings, Watchers, angels, the Anunnaki. From 300 BCE to 1500 CE, demons, jinn, fairies, incubi, and succubi. They hit a good one there with that one. 1500 to 1900 CE, occult entities, elemental spirits, spiritual guides, Frankish tradition, theosophy. 1900 to present, extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, channeled councils. Same being, same agenda, updated interface. Maybe. Level 8, The Thoth-Hermes principle, the legitimate transmission path. The figure who holds the entire map together legitimately is Thoth-Hermes Trismegistus, because he is the entity who transmits the map itself without crossing the boundary inappropriately. Trismegistus means thrice greatest, derived from the statements in the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus that he knows the three parts of the wisdom of the whole universe: alchemy, astrology, and theurgy. Alchemy equals the transformation of material level, Malkuth. Astrology equals the understanding of the planetary archangel level, Sephiroth 4 through 9. And theurgy equals the direct operation of divine will in lower levels. Thoth knows all three parts because he occupies the level where they all interact, the level of Tifereth, where Raphael is. The heart center of the tree, from which one can see both above and below. He transmits the knowledge of this structure not by descending into it inappropriately, but by embodying its central organizing principle, divine wisdom expressed through proper relationship between levels. The Watchers transmitted pieces of this knowledge, metallurgy, astronomy, herbal medicine, without the organizing principle that makes it wisdom rather than mere technique. This is the precise distinction between knowledge and gnosis, between information and wisdom. Information without the organizing principle is, as one Enoch reports, destabilizing. The full transmission through Thoth includes the principle, the understanding of why things work, and what their proper relationship to the whole is. We will leave it there for episode 4, and we will continue on with the living questions the map generates. We'll get into the good stuff now, and I will be jumping forward to remove this vocabulary and look at it through modern eyes and verbiage soon. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for hanging.
Hanging, Mr. Douglas, yeah, hanging. Hang on, Mr. Douglas, yeah.